If you are new to this channel, it may come as a surprise to hear that most modern Jews are not Semites, and that the J1 haplogroup, which makes up the bulk of the Y chromosome haplogroups found among modern men who identify as being Jewish, is not even Semitic in origin, but rather Turkish. The whole Cohen Modal Haplotype, also known as Y chromosomal error, is a scientific fraud rooted in false assumptions. There have been no published genetic tests comparing modern Jewish DNA to that of ancient Yasharal. I'll repeat that. There have been no published genetic tests comparing modern Jewish DNA to that of ancient Yasharal. Most modern Jews are either the descendants of converts or recent converts themselves to the religion of Talmudic Judaism. What you have today is a group of people who have successfully parlayed their religious identity into a national one. So why is this information important to know? Because there are serious spiritual and geopolitical matters at stake that will impact the lives of everyone living. So knowing the truth of who the real children of Yasharal are and who the imposters are, those referred to as the synagogue of Satan in the book of Revelation, may drastically alter your understanding of Scripture and impact the future choices you make. So there are important questions that need to be answered. Primarily, who is a Jew and who gets to decide? As I have stated in a few of my other videos, the Yahudim never called themselves Jews. This was a term foreigners applied to them because they believed that they were of Ethiopian origin. The word itself is a contraction of the word Judaean. Judaean, Judah, Jew. In Josephus' Antiquities of the Jews, he wrote that the Judaeans were a nation of Western Ethiopians. In Israel, it is the chief rabbinate who is the ultimate authority in the matter of deciding who is or who will be accepted as being Jewish and who will not. The chief rabbinate of Israel consists of two rabbis, one Sephardic and one Ashkenazi, or as I have connected them to, Edom and Gog-Magog. Their Cohen Modal Haplotype is a fraud, and they are not the sons of Aaron, and therefore possess no authority as Levitical priests. Both Yitzhak Yosef and David Lau have a deep hatred for the real children of Yasharal and have expressed it openly. The irony is that these converts currently control whom they deem belongs in Israel and who doesn't. The Levant deception. By including Turkey as part of the Levant, and by focusing on the Iranian and Turkish components found within Palestinian DNA, modern Ashkenazi Jews have claimed both a historical and a genetic link to the land. Studies that have shown a genetic link between Palestinians and modern Jews have done so through the Iranian and Turkish components within the DNA of both groups, but not through the ancient Semitic DNA of the inhabitants of that land. The origin of Y chromosome haplogroup J. In order to deceive the whole world into believing a lie, it needs to first come from a recognized and accepted institute or position of authority. It must be told boldly, loudly, and repeated often enough to convince a majority of the population not to even bother questioning the authenticity of the lie. Since it is impossible to discredit the truth, the liars must create the illusion that they have done so by character assassinating the truth tellers and lobbying governments to pass laws making it illegal to expose the lie. Haplogroup J, which makes up the bulk of Y chromosome haplogroups among modern self-identifying Jewish men, is not even Semitic in origin. Haplogroup J is believed to have originated in eastern Turkey or in the area of the southern Caucasus. The oldest haplogroup J1 sample was found in the Satsarbila cave in the country of Georgia, which is located between the Black Sea and the Caspian, also known as the Khazar Sea, in the region of the southern Caucasus. Depending upon source and date of the research, you may find different results. However, Dagestan has one of the world's highest concentrations of the Y chromosome haplogroup J1 M267 subgroups. Dagestan is also home to UFC fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov. So this leaves us with an important question to answer. If most Jews are not Semites, and haplogroup J1 is not Semitic in origin, who are the real Semites and chosen people of Yahuah? Merriam-Webster's online dictionary has two definitions for Semite. Under the first definition, answer A member of any of a number of peoples of ancient Southwest Asia, including the Akkadians, Phoenicians, Hebrews, and Arabs. Answer B, a descendant of these peoples. Under the second definition, they define a Semite as a member of a modern people speaking a Semitic language. We find that Semitic languages falls underneath the category of Afro-Asiatic languages. According to Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, they define Afro-Asiatic languages as a family of languages widely distributed over southwestern Asia and North Africa, comprising the Semitic, Egyptian, Berber, Cushitic, and Chad subfamilies. Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel, page 383. We instinctively associate Semite peoples with the Near East. However, Greenberg determined that Semitic languages really form only one of 6 or more branches of a much larger language family, Afro-Asiatic, all of whose other branches and other 222 surviving languages are confined to Africa. Even the Semitic subfamily itself is mainly African. 12 of its 19 surviving languages arose in Africa, and that only one branch of them spread to the Near East. Hence, it may have been Africa that gave birth to the languages spoken by the authors of the Old and New Testaments and the Quran, the moral pillars of Western civilization. In a published 2014 research article in the European Journal of Human Genetics with the title Y Chromosome E Haplogroups, Their Distribution and Implication to the Origins of Afro-Asiatic Languages and Pastoralism, the authors of the article link the origin and spread of Afro-Asiatic languages, including Hebrew, to the Y chromosome E haplogroup. The Y chromosome is passed down from father to son, with slight variations to distinguish male lines from one another. This is significant and interesting because among modern Jews, the Y chromosome E haplogroup is the second largest group behind the Y chromosome J haplogroup, and its origin and distribution matches the Afro-Asiatic linguistic expansion. However, according to some modern geneticists, and specifically family tree DNA, they reject the E haplogroup as the foundational haplogroup of the forefathers of ancient Yasharal, and instead promote the J haplogroup. Published on Family Tree DNA's website is an article about early Sephardic Jewish expansion into the Dominican Republic. Under the heading Y DNA Historical Background, and the third paragraph down, the author of the article, Sephardic Dominicans Project Administrator Mr. Ken Rodriguez, has the following to say about the E haplogroup. This is the second most common haplogroup among Jewish men worldwide. It accounts for approximately 20% of Jewish male lineages overall, but among Sephardic Jews in particular, it accounts for approximately 30%. It is North African in origin, and its distribution matches the Afro-Asiatic linguistic expansion, which eventually resulted in the formation of Hebrew in addition to other Semitic languages. Its high prevalence among Jews worldwide certainly supports a founder theory for its origins. It is unlikely that the forefathers of the Israelite nation were part of this haplogroup, since evidence so far supports Haplogroup J being the haplogroup of the founding Israelite tribes. The high percentage among Jews may be the result of ancient conversions to the Abrahamic faith, conducted by tribal members in order to allow marriage to the daughters of the 12 tribes. These tribal heads likely had daughters who had no choice but to marry local men, who were converted and integrated into the Israelite tribes before they immigrated to Egypt. Another hypothesis is that the mixed multitude mentioned in the Bible during the Exodus from Egypt may be responsible for introducing this haplogroup into the ancient Israelite gene pool. Either way, haplogroup E1b1b has been present among Jews for thousands of years. The higher prevalence of this haplogroup among Sephardic Jews may be due to North African Berber converts to Judaism during the Muslim occupation of Spain. Sephardic Jews may have brought this lineage with them to the Dominican Republic from Spain. A member of this project with a tradition of Jewish ancestry on his parental line and is a member of this haplogroup can be considered to be likely of Jewish descent. Mr. Ken Rodriguez of Family Tree DNA admits that the E haplogroup was present among the 12 tribes before the founding of the Israelite nation, and that the Afro-Asiatic linguistic expansion, which includes Hebrew, matches the distribution of the E haplogroup, and that its high prevalence among Jews worldwide supports a founder theory, but then rejects the idea that the ancient forefathers of Yasharal were of the E haplogroup, favoring the theory that the ancient forefathers of Yasharal came from the J haplogroup, which has been proven to be non-Semitic in origin. Despite the overwhelming historical, linguistic, and genetic evidence supporting the idea that the ancient forefathers of Yasharal belonged to the E haplogroup, it seems the majority of scientists and historians have fallen victim to the social pressures of their peers and society at large that have accepted the idea that their God is white and therefore his chosen people must be white too. Christian Zionists blindly support the modern nation that blasphemically calls itself Israel, while ignoring the atrocities this nation of people have committed and continue to commit against their neighbors. They often cite verses in Scripture, such as in the book of Bereshith, Genesis, chapter 12, verses 1 through 3, as reasons why they firmly support Israel. The book of Bereshith, Genesis, chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. And Yahuah said to Abram, "Go yourself out of your land, from your relatives and from your father's house, to a land which I show you, and I shall make you a great nation, and bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those that bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed." Christian Zionists look at verses such as these while ignoring ones that warn of a nation of imposters who would claim the land and identity of true Yasharal. It seems that the racial bias and programming within many churches has blinded the eyes of many from seriously considering that Yahusha and the true children of Yasharal could be black. For them, it is an impossibility despite all of the historical documentation. In the November 14, 2008 Haaretz article by Ofri Alani, the title in the large bold print reads, "How White Were the Israelites?" Facial reconstruction may be surprising. However, the subtitle in the small print beneath says, "Israeli anthropologists claims that the subjects of the Kingdom of Judea looked more like black Africans." This is in line with what ancient Greek and Roman historians such as Strabo and Tacitus have said about the appearance of the ancient Hebrews whom they had encountered. Strabo, Geography, Book 16, page 281. As for Judea, its western extremities towards Cassius are occupied by the Idumeans and by the lake. The Idumeans are Nabateans, but owing to a sedition they were banished from there, joined the Judeans, and shared in the same customs with them. The greater part of the region near the sea is occupied by Lake Sirabanus, and by the country continuous with the lake as far as Jerusalem. For this city is also near the sea, for as I have already said, it is visible from the seaport of Joppe. This region lies towards the north, and it is inhabited in general, as is each place in particular, by mixed stocks of people from Egyptian and Arabian and Phoenician tribes. For such are those who occupy Galilee and Hyricus, and Philadelphia and Samaria, which last Herod surnamed Sebaste. But though the inhabitants are mixed up thus, the most prevalent of the accredited reports in regard to the temple at Jerusalem represents the ancestors of the present Judeans, as they are called, as Egyptians. Tacitus, The Histories, Book 5, pages 611 to 612. As I'm about to relate the last days of a famous city, it seems appropriate to throw some light on its origins. Some say the Jews were fugitives from the island of Crete, who settled on the coast of Africa about the time when Saturn was driven from his throne by the power of Jupiter. Evidence of this is sought in the name. There is a famous mountain in Crete called Ida. The neighboring tribe, the Edai, came to be called Judai by a barbarous lengthening of the national name. Others assert that in the reign of Isis, the overflowing population of Egypt, led by Hieronymus and Judas, discharges itself into the neighboring countries. Many again say that they were a race of Ethiopian origin, who in the time of King Cepheus were driven by fear and hatred of their neighbors to seek a new dwelling place. Others describe them as an Assyrian horde who, not having sufficient territory, took possession of part of Egypt and founded cities of their own in what is called the Hebrew country, lying on the borders of Syria. Others again assign a very distinguished origin to the Jews, alleging that they were the Solimi, a nation celebrated in the poems of Homer, who called the city which they founded Hierosolima after their own name. As you can see, the overwhelming evidence from scripture, ancient historical records, anthropology, linguistics, genotype, and phenotype all confirm that ancient Yasharal looked like black Africans. This is the end of part 1.